We are recording.
All right, awesome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our morning book buzz. This is actually our last morning book buzz of the year, so we made sure to pack this presentation with plenty of resources and fresh additions to your TBR pile. I'm Rachel Mann, buzzing in from New York, and I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Liz Camfiord, buzzing in from Malibu, California.
Hello, everyone. Miriam Tuliao here in New York.
All right, so if you've joined us before, then you'll know this slide very well. And if it's your first time with us today, then welcome. Here on the screen, we have our formats key, which will be indicating throughout the presentation which formats each title will be available in. And we also have a small orange E you can get extra excited about because that means there's an eGalley available for that title as well. And just a reminder to everyone, there will be a wrap-up sent out with the PowerPoint you'll see here and an Excel grid containing all the formats available and more. So please sit back and relax and definitely don't feel like you have to write everything down as we go.
And you definitely won't have to write this down because the world knows as of last week that Prince Harry has written a memoir coming out January 10th of next year, speaking for the first time publicly the way he never has before. Of course, he'll narrate the audiobook. This is 416 pages of hard-won wisdom, self-examination, and many revelations, I'm sure. And we are getting set for our 6th annual LibraryCon Live on November 17th. Our keynote speaker is going to be Chuck Wendig, popular novelist, screenwriter, and comic book writer. And so this should be a fabulous array of authors and information, and please do register and join us on November 17th.
And it's time again for our Winter Book and Author Festival. We are constantly blown away by the popularity of this event, and we're thrilled to be back again this December. Our keynote speaker is Matthew Desmond, author of Poverty by America, and we'll have much more author news in the coming weeks, so please register at the link below to join us, and stay tuned for more. It's November, which means we have officially entered the holiday season, and there's no better time to discover some delicious cookbooks. We have new releases from Deb Perelman, Enoch Garden, Bobby Flay, and more. So please check out the tiny URL below to keep your kitchen stocked this season.
And in honor of Native American Heritage Month, we're highlighting several books that represent Indigenous experiences and celebrate Native American cultures and voices. Please visit the URL on this page.
And here are some titles that we really want to bring to your attention for Native American Heritage Month. Some you may already know. Beginning with We Refuse to Forget, A True Story of Black Creek's American Identity and Power by Caleb Gale. The Creek Nation is a Native tribe that 2 centuries ago both owned slaves and accepted Black people as full members. Thanks to the leadership of a chief named Cow Tom, who was a former Black slave, a treaty with the U.S. government recognized Creek citizenship for its Black members. However, in the 1970s, Creek leadership canceled citizenship to Black Creeks, even those who can trace their tribal history back generations. So why did this happen? What led to this reversal? How was the U.S. government involved? And how can marginalized people today defend themselves? These are some of the questions that award-winning journalist Caleb Gale explores in this landmark work of Black and Native American history. Caleb Gale is from Tulsa. He's the son of Jamaican immigrants and an award-winning journalist and professor with an MBA and master's in public policy, both from Harvard University. Jacqueline Woodson said of this book, "We Refuse to Forget is an important part of American history, told with clear-eyed and forceful brilliance." And then we have a novel on the list. This is Shudder. It's a blood-chilling debut set in New Mexico's Navajo Nation. It's equal parts gripping police procedural, supernatural horror, and poignant portrayal of coming of age on the reservation. It's been longlisted for the National Book Award and was also an August Library Reads pick. A little about the story. Rita Todicini is a forensic photographer working for the Albuquerque police force. Her excellent photography skills have cracked many cases. In fact, Rita has been hiding a secret. She sees the ghosts of crime victims who point her toward the clues that other investigators overlook. And so when Rita is sent to photograph the scene of a supposed suicide on a highway overpass, the furious, discombobulated ghost of the victim, who insists she was murdered, latches onto Rita, forcing her on a quest for revenge against the killers. So the author, Ramona Emerson, is a Native American writer and Emmy-nominated filmmaker for her production company, which is called Reel, R-E-E-L, Indian. And Shudder is the first in a trilogy, which one of my favorite writers, Pam Houston, says, "Shudder moves between making your blood run cold and warming your heart."
And our next title is an Afro-Indigenous History of the United States by UCLA professor and Afro-Indigenous historian Kyle T. Mays. Um, Here he presents an intersectional history of the relationship and the differences between the Black American quest for freedom and the Native American struggle for sovereignty. Professor Mays argues that the foundations of the United States are rooted in anti-Blackness and settler colonialism, and that these parallel oppressions continue into the present. Blending pop culture, history, academic writing with colloquial Black English, he reorients our understanding of history by reframing our understanding of who was indigenous in early America. A booklist reviewer writes, an Afro Indigenous history of the United States is nuanced and illuminating, and a worthy addition to the remarkable Revisioning History series by Beacon. Our next title is Sisters of the Lost Nation, a page-turning debut thriller for fans of Mexican Gothic and the Hacienda. Anna Horn is a young Native girl who's always looking over her shoulder for the bullies who torment her, for the entitled visitors at the reservation's casino, and for the nameless disembodied entity that stalks her every step. Strange and sinister happenings occur around the casino, and as girls begin to go missing, the tribe scrambles to find answers. When Anna's own little sister disappears, she'll do anything to bring Grace home. But the demons plaguing the reservation, both old and new, are strong, and sometimes it's the stories that never get told that are the most important. The author, Nick Medina, is a member of the Tunica Biloxi tribe and grew up enthralled by the stories and myths he heard from his paternal grandmother, an elder of the tribe. And in Sisters of the Lost Nation, he captures the voice of the indigenous community with subtlety and empathy.
Okay, I'm already seeing some love for this in the chat. So next up, we have Project 562, Changing the Way We See Native America by Matika Wilbur. This is an incredibly special book, a photographic and narrative celebration of contemporary Native American life and cultures, alongside an in-depth examination of issues that Native people face by celebrated photographer and storyteller Matika Wilbur. In 2012, Matika sold everything in her Seattle apartment and set out on a Kickstarter-funded pursuit to visit, engage, and photograph people from what were then the 562 federally recognized Native American tribal nations. Over the next decade, she traveled 600,000 miles across 50 states, from Seminole Country, now known as the Everglades, to Inuit Territory, now known as the Bering Sea, to meet, interview, and photograph hundreds of Indigenous people. The culmination of this decade-long art and storytelling endeavor, Project 562 is a peerless, sweeping, and moving love letter to Indigenous Americans, containing hundreds of stunning portraits and compelling personal narratives of contemporary Native people. Not only is this a very beautiful photo book, it is also for anyone interested in Native issues, including Native and non-Native parents, educators, and scholars. And closing out this slide, we have To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monique Blackgoose. This is about a young Indigenous woman who enters a colonizer-run dragon academy after bonding with a hatchling and quickly finding herself at odds with the approved way of doing things, in the first book of a brilliant new fantasy series. The remote island of Masquapog has not seen a dragon in many generations, until 15-year-old Anikus finds a dragon's egg and bonds with its hatchling. Her people are delighted, for all remember the tales of the days when dragons lived among them and danced away the storms of autumn, enabling the people to thrive. Unfortunately for Anikus, the English conquerors of her land have different opinions. They have a very specific idea on how a dragon should be raised, and who should be doing the raising, and Anikus does not meet any of their requirements. Only with great reluctance do they allow Anikus to enroll in a proper English dragon school on the mainland, and if she cannot succeed there, then her dragon will be killed. This is for readers of fantasy novels with Indigenous representation like Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Rowanhorse, and fans of sci-fi with young LGBTQIA+ characters like Gideon the Ninth.
Here's a new genre, the mom-com. The Friendship Breakup by Annie Catherine is like Bad Moms Meet Mean Girls for a movie reference. It's the debut novel, will appeal to fans of Laura Henkin and Jennifer Weiner as a fresh, clever, and complex mom-com about the ups and downs of friendship and the ins and out of parenthood. Here we meet Fallon Monroe, mother of one, self-help book junkie, and budding chocolatier who has always relied on her mom friends in the Chicago suburbs to get her through the trials of adulthood. So when her bestie, Beatrice, inexplicably starts ghosting her and takes all their mutual friends with her, Fallon's left wondering how everything went so wrong. As she suppresses a lifetime of insecurity, she aims to win back her friends first with an epic Mexican fiesta, which goes horribly wrong. Then she joins a friendship app, but discovers a disturbing secret about one of her new friends. Just when she's about to give up, Fallon reads a decades-old letter she refused to deal with earlier in her life, forcing her to face her deep-seated fears. Now, looking at her friendships through fresh eyes, she must decide between hanging on and letting go. Fallon is an instantly likable heroine, as vulnerable as she is determined. And we have an in-house favorite by an actual colleague of ours. This is Pineapple Street, a debut novel from Jenny Jackson, who's a VP and executive editor at Knopf. Her book has been described as The Nest meets Edith Wharton, and a writer destined to become our generation's Laurie Colwin, and we need that. To quote the editor, Pineapple Street is like a pina colada, sweet and frothy, about the inner workings of an old WASP family and what it is like to marry into a family where money is the family business. A little bit about the story. Darlie, the eldest daughter in the well-connected old money Stockton family, followed her heart, trading her job and her inheritance for motherhood, but giving up far too much in the process. Sasha, a middle-class New England girl, has married into the Brooklyn Heights family and finds herself cast as the Araviste outsider. And Georgiana, the baby of the family, has fallen in love with someone she can't have and must decide what kind of person she wants to be. This is perfect for book clubs and people who enjoy the upper crust appeal of Miranda Cowley, Heller's The Paper Palace, The Warmth of Emma Straub's All Adults Here, The Romantic Class Consciousness of Sally Rooney's Normal People, and books of that ilk. So as I said, Jenny Jackson is a beloved editor. Her authors include Kevin Kwan, Emily St. John Mandel, and Selma Blair, to name but a few. This book also has a major television deal. It's been fast-tracked for development as a TV series with Picture Start, and the producer of La La Land, The Twilight Saga. It's going to be quite big. Kevin Kwan says of the novel, "Nothing beats a story told this well. I could not stop laughing at this hilarious insider's view of Brooklyn Heights wasps. Truly the smartest and most deliciously fun novel I've read in ages." And the quotes go on from there.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so next up, we have The Society of Shame by Jane Roper. In this timely and witty combination of "So You've Been Publicly Shamed" and "Where'd You Go, Bernadette?", a viral photo of a politician's wife's feminine hygiene malfunction catapults her to unwanted fame in a story that's both a satire of social media stardom and internet activism, and a tender mother-daughter tale. Kathleen Held's life is turned upside down when she arrives home to find her house on fire and her husband on the front lawn in his underwear. But the scandal that emerges is not that Bill, who's running for Senate, is having a painfully cliched affair with one of his youngest staffers. It's that the eyewitness photographing the scene accidentally captures a period stain on the back of Kathleen's pants. Overnight, Kathleen finds herself the unwitting figurehead for a social media centered women's rights movement, hashtag Yes We Bleed. Humiliated, Kathleen desperately seeks a way to hide from the spotlight. But when she stumbles upon the Society of Shame, led by the infamous author Danica Bellevue, Kathleen finds herself part of a group who are all working to change their lives after their own scandals. This is for readers of astute and hilarious fiction with social commentary, like the work of Maria Semple, and fans of affirming family stories like those of Emma Straub, Britt Bennett, and Gabrielle Zevin, and anyone who really needs to get off Twitter. Next up, we have The Cuban Heiress by Chanel Cleeton. In 1934, the ultimate vacation becomes a fight for survival as the secrets of two women's pasts collide aboard a luxury cruise liner on a round-trip voyage from New York to Havana in New York Times bestselling author Chanel Cleeton's page-turning new novel, inspired by the true story of the tragedy of the SS Morro Castle. New York heiress Catherine Dohan seemingly has it all. There's only one problem. It's a lie. As soon as the Morro Castle leaves port, Catherine's past returns with a vengeance and threatens her plans. Joining forces with a charismatic jewel thief with his own nebulous agenda, Catherine must discover who wants her dead and why. Elena Palacio is a dead woman, or so everyone thinks. After a terrible betrayal left her penniless and on the run, Elena's journey on the Morro Castle is her last hope. Steeped in secrecy and a burning desire for revenge, her return to Havana is a chance to right the wrong that has been done to her, and her prey just happens to be aboard the ship. This is perfect for fans of Kate Quinn, Pam Jenoff, and Kristen Hanna.
Romantic Comedy is the latest novel from the New York Times bestselling author of Prep and Eligible, Curtis Sittenfeld. Sally Mills is a sketch writer for The Night Owls, the late night live comedy show that airs each Saturday. With a couple of heartbreaks under her belt, she's long abandoned the search for love, settling instead for the occasional hookup, career success, and a close relationship with her stepfather to round out a satisfying life. But when Sally's friend and fellow writer Danny Horst begins dating Annabelle, a glamorous actress who guest hosted the show, he joins the not so exclusive group of talented but average looking, dorky men who've gotten romantically involved with beautiful women. Sally channels her annoyance into a sketch called The Danny Horst Rule, poking fun at this phenomenon while underscoring how unlikely it is that the reverse would ever happen for a woman. Enter Noah Brewster, a pop music sensation with a reputation for dating models, who signs on to host this week's show. Dazzled by his charm, Sally hits it off with Noah instantly, and as they collaborate on one sketch after another, she begins to wonder if there might actually be sparks flying. But this isn't a romantic comedy, it's real life. And in real life, someone like him would never date someone like her, right? With her keen observations and trademark ability to bring complex women to life on the page, Curtis Sittenfeld explores the neurosis inducing, heart fluttering wonder of love while slyly dissecting the social rituals of romance and gender relations in the modern age. Our next book is Lucky Girl by Irene Muchemi Deritu. This is a rich, engaging debut for fans of Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age and Britt Bennett's The Mothers. It's also perfect for book clubs. Since I was a child, I've been searching for a place where I could just be me. It wasn't at home in Kenya with mother. Then I came to a foreign land which I loved, but I was still a stranger. I was different even to the people with whom I shared a skin color and hair texture. I worried I would never find the place where I belonged. A privileged young Kenyan woman flees the expectations of her mother for a life in New York that challenges all her beliefs about race, love, and family. Um, Charmaine Wilkerson, the New York Times bestselling author of Black Cake, writes, Lucky Girl is at times tender, at times funny, at times uncomfortably frank, a fresh look at racism, privilege, and the challenges of coming of age and falling in love between two cultures.
Moving on to some nonfiction and true crime, beginning here with I Know Who You Are. Perhaps some of you have read or seen the documentary I'll Be Gone in the Dark about the Golden State Killer. The findings talked about in this book happened after that publication. In the span of just a few years, Barbara Ray Ventnor, our author, went from researching her family history as a retired patent attorney to finding a serial killer who had baffled law enforcement for decades. I Know Who You Are reveals how she became the nation's leading authority in investigative genetic genealogy and identified the Golden State Killer, Joseph James D'Angelo, who had evaded authorities for 44 years. And she did this in just 63 days. Ray Ventnor also details other extraordinary cases she's worked on and brings readers inside her unique grasshopper mind as she analyzes DNA data, pores through obituaries, marriage records, and old newspaper articles. She really brings readers in on urgent calls from sheriffs, FBI agents, district attorneys, as well as the struggle to obtain a usable crime scene DNA sample. I Know Who You Are captures the exhilaration of the moment of discovery in cold case investigations, but it's also really a poignant book about the emotions that linger around these cases, and those inform Ray Ventnor's careful and sensitive approach to her work. So the author is from New Zealand. She's a New Zealand-born, an American investigative genetic genealogist, a biologist, and is still working on dozens of cases a year. She's been named to Time's 100 Most Influential People list and also profiled in the New York Times, which is a fascinating profile that you can look up. And then we have sort of an expose, unscripted, the epic battle for a media empire and the Redstone family legacy. Reading about this book, I could not help but think this whole story is definitely the backstory and influenced the show Succession. It's set against the backdrop of Hollywood, reads like a real life succession. It's the shocking inside story of the struggle for power and control of Paramount Studios, the multi-billion entertainment empire controlled by the Redstone family. So if you don't remember the story, I will refresh your memory. In 2016, the fate of Paramount, the media empire that includes Viacom, CBS, and Simon & Schuster, hung in the balance. Its founder and head, 93-year-old Sumner Redstone, was facing a very public lawsuit brought by a former romantic companion, Manuela Herzer. She, along with other of his girlfriends, Sydney Holland for one, had tried to influence the aging media mogul to cut off his own family and hand over his bank accounts and controlling shares. After their machinations came to light, Herzer was excised from the will, and Sumner's daughter, Sherry Redstone, took charge of her father's care. Herzer's lawsuit brought Sumner's deteriorating health and questionable judgment to light. Sumner was forced to step down from the role as executive chairman. His daughter, Sherry, whose relationship with her father had been strained, took control of her father's business, to the frustration of the board, including Les Moonves, the popular CEO of CBS, who publicly battled Sherry. Then news began to leak that Moonves himself was being investigated for sexual assault. This is, as you can tell, an explosive look at the unusually secret inner workings of two public companies. And through this microcosm of the company under the assault of technological advances, and given the radical change in the workplace due to Me Too, Black Lives Matter, and also a distaste for the old guard, has had to look at itself very strongly. Pulitzer Prize winning journalists Stewart and Abrams, our authors, have been reporting on this for more than 5 years and have on record multiple sources who have never spoken until now, until this book. The book quotes from emails, text messages, legal briefs, and also personal phone calls that have never been revealed until now. So it's going to be an incredible revelation. Then we have unscripted. That is unscripted, sorry. Next.
I just have to say, sorry, I'm a huge fan of Succession, and I will absolutely be picking up Unscripted.
Oh my
This
gosh, the
sounds
father, the daughter, like everything about it is
thing.
is just like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And our next title is perfect for fans of Michael Lewis and David Simon, as well as devotees of TV's CSI. The book is entitled OCME, Life in America's Top Forensic Medical Center. Equipped with a journalist's eye, a paramedic's experience, and a sardonic wit, Bruce Goldfarb spent 10 years with Maryland's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, where every sudden or unattended death in the state is scrutinized. Touching on numerous scandals, including Derek Chauvin's trial for the murder of George Floyd and the tragic killing in police custody of Freddie Gray, Goldfarb pulls back the curtain on a pioneer institution in crisis. During Goldfarb's time with the Maryland OCME, opioid-related deaths contributed to a significant increase in their workload. Faced with a chronic shortage of qualified experts and inadequate funding, their important and fascinating work has become more challenging than most people could ever imagine. The public gets a skewed view of the relationship between police and medical examiners from procedural crime dramas. Goldfarb writes of his work inside one of America's most storied forensic centers. We aren't on the same team. We aren't on any team. The medical examiner's sole duty is to the deceased person. We speak for the dead. And our next title is The Curse of the Marquis de Sade, a notorious scoundrel, a mythical manuscript, and the biggest scandal in literary history. Bibliophiles who have enjoyed Joshua Hammer's The Badass Librarians of Timbuktu and Susan Orlean's The Library Book will find this title especially appealing. This is a captivating, deeply reported true story of how one of the most notorious novels ever written, Marquis de Sade's 120 Days of Sodom, landed at the heart of one of the biggest scams in modern literary history. It has a riveting, character-driven narrative. Here you'll meet the devious and beguiling Saad, a man fully driven by his physical desires, and the women, including his wife and mother, who endlessly indulged him. Henry Spencer Ashby, a Victorian bibliophile who amassed one of the world's largest collections of erotica, and the notorious Gerard Héritier, the man at the heart of France's most infamous cultural pyramid scheme. The author, Joel Warner, is a writer and editor whose work has appeared in Esquire, Wired, Newsweek, Bloomberg Businessweek, among others, and he currently serves as a managing editor of the investigative news outlet The Lever, previously worked as a staff writer at International Business Times and Westworld. He is also the co-author of The Humor Code.
Hey, next up we have There Will Be Fire by Rory Carroll. A race against the clock narrative that finally illuminates a history-changing event, the IRA's attempt to assassinate Margaret Thatcher and the epic manhunt that followed. A bomb planted by the Irish Republican Army exploded at 2:54 a.m. on October 12, 1984. It was the last day of the Conservative Party conference at the Grand Hotel in the coastal town of Brighton, England. Rooms were obliterated, dozens of people wounded, and 5 killed. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was in her suite when the explosion occurred. Had she been just a few feet in another direction, flying tiles and masonry would have sliced her to ribbons. As it was, she survived and history changed. This is perfect for readers of narrative nonfiction and fans of Patrick Radden Keefe and Erik Larson. And closing out this slide, we have The Wager by David Grann. From the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Killers of the Flower Moon, a page-turning story of shipwreck, survival, and savagery, culminating in a court-martial that reveals a shocking truth. With the twists and turns of a thriller, Grann unearths a deeper meaning of the events on The Wager, showing that it was not only the captain and crew who ended up on trial, but the very idea of empire. On January 28, 1742, a ramshackle vessel of patched together wood and cloth washed up on the coast of Brazil. Inside were 30 emaciated men, barely alive, and they had an extraordinary tale to tell. They were survivors of His Majesty's ship, the Wager, a British vessel that left England in 1740 on a secret mission during an imperial war with Spain. While the Wager had been chasing a Spanish treasure-filled galleon known as the Prize of All Oceans, it had wrecked on a desolate island off the coast of Patagonia. The men, after being marooned for months and facing starvation, built the flimsy craft and sailed for more than 100 days, traversing 2,500 miles of storm-racked seas. They were greeted as heroes. But then, 6 months later, another even more decrepit craft landed on the coast of Chile. This boat contained just 3 castaways, and they told a very different story. The 30 sailors who landed in Brazil were not heroes, they were mutineers. The Wager is a grand tale of human behavior at the extremes, told by one of our greatest nonfiction writers. It's perfect for fans of Erik Larson, Candice Millard, and Dean King.
Sounds so riveting. New year, new mindset. Are you ready for the new year? It's only November. But these are some books we're recommending to get one's life together. We Over Me is the first that I'm going to talk about, the counterintuitive approach to getting everything you want from your relationship. So the stars of the social media show, The Ellises, and hosts of the Webby Award-winning podcast Dead Ass with K and D, they have more than 4 million followers, share the core pillars of their relationship that have allowed them to thrive. So after 12 years of marriage and 20 years together, also 4 kids, Davale and Kadeen Ellis have been through a lot, including near death and near divorce. After much trial and error, they hit upon one surprising essential truth. If you're looking for a healthy relationship and a fulfilling life, focus on your partner's needs instead of your wants. With their trademark transparency and humor, Kadeen and Diwali share the messy, behind the scenes work of what it takes to succeed and support one another in their search for individual purpose while growing in their marriage. They discuss family, parenting, sex and intimacy, finances, and commitment with honest advice threaded through their stories. And then we have Glow in the Effing Dark. Simple practices to heal your soul from someone who learned the hard way. So, for the past decade, Tara Schuster worked tirelessly to repair the emotional wounds inflicted during her childhood, resulting in the runaway hit bestseller that I'm sure you've heard of, Buy Yourself the Effing Lilies. As Vice President of Talent and Development at Comedy Central, she was the executive in charge of such critically acclaimed shows as Key and Peele. But then she lost her job, resulting in panic attacks and a deep depression that brought her worst childhood traumas to the surface. Isolated at home during the pandemic, she was lonelier and more directionless than ever before. Then finally, after a particularly dangerous episode while driving down the highway, she realized that she needed to slow down and pull over to stop the relentless hustling that had gotten her this far and to recover her innermost self. So, this book is a guide to healing your deepest soul wounds, developing habits that will give you lasting courage and resolve. It's full of practical, free baby steps we can take today. Obviously, as working with comedians, it's full of humor. And Tara Schuster is like a next generation Glennon Doyle. And Doyle, in fact, has said that readers will want Tara to be their new best friend. Adam Grant says of the book, you'll laugh, you'll cry, and you might just come away stronger and better.
And next we have The Body Liberation Project by Chrissy King. She is an Instagram personality and an author who's written a genre-defining, redefining narrative, a mix of memoir, inspiration, and specific exercises and prompts with timely messages about social and racial justice and how the world needs to move beyond body positivity to something even more exciting and revolutionary: body liberation. Simply said, diet culture is rooted in white supremacy, the notion that those who fall outside of Eurocentric standards of beauty are less attractive is a message that is transmitted daily from multiple external forces or social institutions. Body image and beauty standards can only be truly understood within a framework of interlocking systems of isms, for example, racism, sexism, classism, heterosexism. The Body Liberation Project is about finding actual freedom in our bodies through finding strength and the aspects of fitness that work for you. It's understanding that the goal is not to look at our bodies and love everything that we see. It's to understand that at our essence, we are so much more than our bodies. But it's also about recognizing the harsh realities that prohibit some people from being able to do that. Chrissy King, the author, is a writer, speaker, strength coach, and educator with a passion for creating a diverse and inclusive wellness industry. She has degrees in social justice and sociology from Marquette University, and she merges her passion for social justice and her passion for fitness to empower individuals within the fitness and wellness industry to create spaces that allow individuals from all backgrounds to feel seen, welcome, respected, and celebrated. Our next title is Edit Your Life by Elizabeth Sharp Maketa. Life is noisier, messier, and more complicated than ever. In our quest to keep up, we can lose sight of what we care about most and instead try to do it all with mixed results. Here, writer Elizabeth Sharp Maketa shares 8 simple ways to cut through the clutter, drama, and overwhelm of modern life to live with more intention and joy. Inspired by her own experiments with prioritizing tiny house living and finding the right balance of work and family time, Edit Your Life brings together personal narrative and practical takeaway with inspiring results.
Okay. Next up, we have Built to Move by Kelly and Juliet Starrett. The innovators behind The Ready State and the movement Bible, Becoming a Supple Leopard, present 10 practices proven to enhance mobility, make you feel energetic and alive, and, like a good 401k, prepare your body for whatever comes its way in the future. After decades spent working with pro athletes, Olympians, and Navy SEALs, mobility pioneers Kelly and Juliet Starrett begin thinking about the physical well being of the rest of us. What makes a durable human? How do we continue to feel great and function well as we age? And how do we counteract the effects of technology dependence, sedentary living, and other modern ways of life on our body's natural need for activity? Our bodies, after all, were built to move. The answers lie in a simple formula for basic mobility maintenance. 10 tests plus 10 physical practices equals 10 ways to make your body work better. This is perfect for athletes, retirees, yoga enthusiasts, young professionals, and anybody else who just wants to move a little bit better. Finally, we have Go Be Brave by Leon Logothetis, host of the popular Discovery Plus series, The Kindness Diaries, and author of Go Be Kind. Bravery goes far beyond running into burning buildings. It's what makes us human and what allows us to connect with others. It's the foundation of a truly magnificent life, if only we're vulnerable enough to embrace it. In his travels across the world, Leon, the kindness guy, has met some of the kindest people around the world. What he discovered along the way was that bravery wasn't what he thought it was. True bravery means being kind, making connections, and tapping into the deep fearlessness that defines us as human beings. Now, in Go Be Brave, Leon shares 24 and 3/4 new adventures for a fearless, wiser, and truly magnificent life. Bravery is a choice, the choice to reconnect to our humanity, and it's one we can make every single day. This is perfect for teens and millennials who worked their way through one or several editions of Wreck This Journal.
Hot new YA audiobooks. Here are our recommendations. And just to remind you, you can visit booksontaped.com and listen to clips of all of these audiobooks. So beginning with A Scatter of Light by Melinda Lowe, narrated by Annie Q. This is the instant New York Times bestselling title from Melinda, who wrote Last Night at the Telegraph Club. That was the winner of the National Book Award. In this book, Lowe returns to the Bay Area for another masterful queer coming of age story, this time set against the backdrop of the first major Supreme Court decisions legalizing gay marriage. Audiophile praised it thus: Annie Q's voice transforms for every character. Q even delightfully sings Steph's songs. Shifting perspectives abound. And then we have Sea Sparrow. The fifth novel in the best-selling Graceling Realm series is told from the point of view of Haba, Queen Bitterblue's sister and spy, and chronicles the harrowing journey back to Monsey. This audiobook includes a downloadable PDF containing a map of the known world, Torla, and the royal continent, a diagram of the Monsey, and a cast of characters from the printed book. Audiophile praised the series with an Earphones Award review, saying, Xanthi Elbrick uses tone, mood, and accents to distinguish characters and transition between settings. Elbrick subtly shifts between fantastical elements to realistic characters and situations. These disparate elements create a unified whole that speaks to the power of power and caring that transcend the story's treachery.
Now, from beloved actor, producer Omar Epps and writer Clarence A. Haynes comes the biggest fantasy of the year, Nubia, the Awakening. This is a powerful saga of three teens, the children of refugees from a fallen African utopia, who must navigate their newfound powers in a climate ravaged New York City. It's perfect for fans of Black Panther and Children of Blood and Bone, and it's read by three narrators.
And we have Futureland, Battle for the Park by H.D. Hunter, read by Ron Butler, Fred Berman, Jeanette Illich and Lynette R. Freeman. When an extraordinary flying theme park arrives above Atlanta, one boy must stop a sinister force from stealing the park's tech and taking over the world. This is an electrifying illustrated series with the Afrofuturism of Black Panther that took the world by storm. It's perfect for fans of Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and as a bonus, this audiobook contains a downloadable PDF of images from the book. Thank you all so much for watching, everyone. That concludes season 3 of our morning book buzz. We so appreciate all of you for tuning in, not just this month, but every month before. You all have made this a season to remember, and it's such a joy to connect each month with librarians about books we're reading and books we're loving. We know this has been a wild ride of a year, but again, we so appreciate your time and having this incredible audience we've built these last 3 seasons. So thank you. And while we will be taking a bit of a break, we'll be back in February. So make sure you're subscribed to our e-newsletter and keeping in touch with us on socials. We hope you all have the best holiday season and a happy new year. We've certainly given you enough to read until we return. And we also hope to see you all at our festival on December 8th. So all that said, I think we are all definitely owed a little celebrating. My props don't even closely rival that of our colleague Jen Rubins, but this should do. So I would love to raise a glass to all of us here today, all of the librarians in attendance, and all of our departments, and say cheers to a
Cheers.
fantastic new year with new reads. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.